guys, thanks for tuning in. It's the one and only Optibotimus coming at you with another video review. And on today's episode, thanks to all of the absolutely incredible contributions from my Optibotimus Plus channel members, we're going to be taking a look at the new Transformers Studio Series 86 Deluxe Class PERCEPTOR. And for full disclosure, this figure was purchased from an overseas seller and was really one that I was very much looking forward to. As many of you that follow me know, I tend to have more of an interest in characters that are science-y. Whether it be Donatello with the Ninja Turtles, Egon with the Ghostbusters, or my personal favorite Transformer of all time, Wheeljack, PERCEPTOR fits in that group. Now, truth be told, I always had a little bit of, resentment for PERCEPTOR because he was almost brought in as like a replacement for Wheeljack when Wheeljack died. So part of me was always bugged by the guy, but ultimately I still really very much enjoyed the character. And as being part of the 86 Studio Series line, this guy has been done up to beautifully recreate how he looked in that Transformers the movie film. As you can see, color-wise, spot on. I love what they did with them. Everything on here, from the red to the lighter blue to the kind of like off-white of the knobs, all look really very, very nice. Accessory-wise, he does come with a blaster. You got a couple different ports on here. You got some holes here on the sides. You also have one here on the back that you can barely put that in there. I'm like, it sits in there, but the little clip section here does kind of bump up against his head, but it is enough that it will hold it in there perfectly fine for me, and it kind of hides it. I don't necessarily like having guns hanging off of him in his microscope mode, which a lot of kids nowadays might not even know what a microscope is. I don't know. Do you guys know what microscopes are? Do they use these still in school? I don't know. But the overall recreation of this guy is phenomenal. Now, we recently got a PERCEPTOR in the Titans Return line, or was it Power of the Primes? I don't remember. This is that, and I really like this one. This was a very cool updated look for him. And you can see that basically, again, you have a microscope sort of alt mode. Both of them could be artillery tanks. I'll show that here with this. But with this guy, you had the little tiny headmaster gimmick with him, which wasn't bad. I really didn't have a problem. He never became a headmaster, so it was kind of weird. But it was still a really good figure. But his robot mode did have a little bit more of a stylized look. I still liked him. I mean, don't get me wrong. This is a great, great toy. But this is the, honestly, look that I think of when I think of PERCEPTOR. Now, for some other comparisons, honestly, a microscope is not going to kind of translate well to comparing them in, I guess, alt mode. So here's his buddy, well, what would have been his buddy. I mean, they share the screen a little bit, but here we have Wheeljack, and I'll bring these guys in again later on when I want to show him off in robot mode. But here we have, this is Hot Rod, which I think looks really very cool. Hot Rod later became Rodimus Prime, so let's bring in Rodimus, and you can see just how big he kind of gets by comparison. And because one of the more iconic scenes from the Transformers movie was the announcement that Optimus Prime was dying. So let's bring in Optimus Prime. I don't want to bring in the dead version of Optimus because it just brings up too many bad memories. But you can see there's a good scale right there. I think that works pretty decently, honestly. That's one thing that I really do appreciate with what the folks at Hasbro have been doing lately, giving us really good scaled figures. Now, as I said, he does have his artillery tank mode, which is a throwback to the original G1 toy. All you really have to do for that is just take these legs, you're going to bring these around, and they're going to rotate around to the opposite side. When you do that, you do expose these little tank treads right here. You don't have them on that side, but you do have them there. And then you also have a little hole section there that just angles up and then plugs in right there. It is a little bit tricky to do because it is a bit on an angle. So kind of bring that up, put that in there, do that on this side, rotate that around, bring that up, and literally just kind of sandwich that in there. Although, let me get that out of the way. Let's see, because again, it is on a little bit of an angle. You just got to be a little careful, but there we go. And then you just take this, kind of angle this back, and here's his artillery mode. Again, it's a throwback to that vintage toy. I love that they put it in there. Something very, very simple. It doesn't really require too much changing, but what you unfortunately end up doing is hiding all the extra little posts that you could use this for. I mean, I guess you have this here. You can plug it in right there. So you got that little whole section right there that you can move things around, and if you wanted to do that. Really, that is about it. So putting this back to there, and then bringing that back around. So you do have 2 alt modes for him for the most part. This can hinge, as you can see. None of the knobs work. These don't move, although you can, I don't know if you can kind of see that it does have a little bit of a magnifying-ish sort of look to it, or there's just little lenses that are inside. So I guess that's about that. Now for transformation, ridiculously simple, as Perceptor really should be. I don't think he needs to be too overly complex. That G1 toy basically perfectly recreated it, so why reinvent the wheel when it comes to this? So first, take this section and push this up, bend the legs down, straighten that out, and then just rotate these around, kind of straighten those out as best as you can. So again, bring that forward, rotate that down, just like so, like that. Fold out the foot, do that on that side, bring these arms out, like so. This section here is going to detach and swivel out, and then collapse down right there. This bit here folds down right there. Rotate these arms around, and then bring these up. That locks into place. Now rotate that around, hinge this up, that locks into place. You got little fists right here. Rotate those out. They actually do snap into place, as you could hear. Just like that. Gonna play with that. This head section here, rotate this around. This gets in there fairly down. Let's get that out of the way. That gets in there really tight. There we go. Pull that out and then rotate his head around. You don't have to rotate it. I just like doing it because otherwise you have his head right there. So just rotate that around. Go ahead, straighten all that out. So you can bring that down, and you can separate it and have it where you can angle it up a little bit. For me though, you can see it's kind of on an angle. I wish you could angle that up a little bit more without having this big giant gap. I mean, it's not that bad by any stretch of the imagination. It's just a minor critique on my end. But as you can see, transformation is insanely simple. But I don't fault the figure for that, because the character was like that, and that's exactly how the toy should be, I think. But when you're done, there you have Perceptor in his amazingly accurate looking robot mode. And once again, the Studio Series line has shown that these are basically budget-scaled masterpiece figures. This guy turned out great. The coloring on here is all really very well done. The detail is all exactly what you would expect. Obviously, his little shoulder thing here is going to be fairly large because it needs to be. Granted, in the show, it was a little bit smaller, but to kind of go along with that microscope sort of alt mode, it needs to be this big. The head sculpt here looks good. Let me get that kind of out of the way. That is a great looking head sculpt. That looks absolutely like Perceptor. Wonderful job there. One thing that, if I were to offer a little bit of a criticism, would be in the cartoon, this wasn't as thick of a white line going around there. It was a little, I mean, it was there, but it was maybe half that or something. That would be my only real, I guess, complaint, if you really want to call it that. And honestly, I thought that the break here was going to be uglier than I thought, but it kind of sits there pretty well. I mean, there is a bit of a locking point that you can feel when you're moving around. So while the line is still there, it doesn't make it look bad, really, at all. And it's just kind of the nature of the way that the leg design is. Now, for comparison, obviously, here is the new Studio Series 1. And here is that Titans Return one, or Power of the Primes, whatever line it came in. But we got him just a little bit ago. But you can see that there is a more stylized look with this guy. And while he still looks really super cool. Lift that up a little bit out of the way. For me, again, I love the cartoon. I grew up with the Transformers cartoon. I'm not trying to sound like I'm what I dub a G-whiner, but it is my preferred look. And this is it. This is exactly what I think of when I think of Perceptor and how he looks. Again, the stylized look on this guy was really very cool, and I do dig him totally. But it is definitely a better looking figure for my personal collection with the new Studio Series one. The other thing you can see is there is a good size difference. Both of them are deluxe figures, but you can see this guy does get a little bit bigger, which is nice. Also, there is this guy has more of a hollow feel to him. There's a more, I guess, solid nature to the plastic than this guy. So, I mean, it's not that the plastic is cheap or anything, but there's a lot more hollow parts. You can see a lot of that when you look at him. There's a lot of hollow here in the thighs, the arms, and things like that. I mean, this has some hollow bits on here. Obviously, the hands have to rotate, but everything has been filled in a little bit more where there are still some of those gaps. It's not egregiously ugly in terms of the coverage of the plastic. So that is really nice to see. I really do appreciate that improvement. And because I said I would bring in the rest of the guys, again, here is Wheeljack. Kind of surprised, honestly, to see how big Perceptor is compared to some of these guys, and you can see that really here with Wheeljack. It's not, again, a bad scale or anything. It's just, I don't know if I really remember him being that big. And again, they're both deluxe figures. Here is Hot Rod. So again, move him off to the side so you can kind of see that. So you can see that, again, the scale here works pretty decent. Hot Rod was a Voyager class. However, figure scale-wise, he really was mostly just a deluxe scale figure with a lot of accessory. And then you have this guy here, which was a leader class figure. But again, mostly just because of the accessories that came with them. And then, obviously, because I'm not going to bring in the dead Optimus Prime because that makes me sad and miserable, here is regular Optimus Prime. This is Optimus Prime. So you can see, again, great size between these guys. Everything looks really good. Obviously, you can see you got his gun right here that you can plug in and have him hold. Or, again, you can come around here to the back. You can put that there behind his head so that he's not really holding a weapon. He didn't really walk around with guns a lot of times. Being the scientist guy, he was kind of more on the sidelines of things. Now, articulation-wise, as you can see, you can hinge this a little bit up and down. It is kind of, mine is a little bit warped, so you can kind of see it kind of goes off on an angle a little bit. I could probably heat that up and fix that myself, unless that just clicks down. No, that doesn't really, no. I could probably heat that up and kind of, you can kind of see how it goes off on the side, but that's not that big of a deal. The head here is on a ball joint, although you don't really get much motion, or is it just that little hinge? It might just be the transformation hinge right there, but you get the left to right, you have a, is that a ball joint? That might be a ball joint in there, but really it doesn't really give any kind of rotation up there. You just get the forward and back, up and down, all that. You have a rotation at the upper part of the bicep, hinge here at the elbow for a 90-degree range of motion. No rotation at the wrist, but you can bring it in. Don't know why you would want to, but you could. You can rotate him at the waist. Lots of articulation here at the legs, forward and back, in and out, but you got to be careful because that will kind of pull that away. You have the rotation. You can have him do. You can. That's the hoedown dance right there, or hoedown joint. You have a knee joint here that gives you a real good range of motion. Ankles are articulated at the pivot point right there. Also, you got toe articulation. So all the articulation really that you can think of and want in the guy is there. I'm really happy with him. I think that he turned out fantastic. Definitely, honestly, was not one that I was really thinking about when I was thinking about the Studio Series. I'm like, what other figures could they put in the Studio Series line? And for some reason, he completely fell off of my radar, and I'm kind of disappointed in myself for forgetting about him. But he's here regardless, so I'm very, very happy. Now, for his transformation back, I'm going to take that off, and I'm going to hinge this up just to kind of get that out of the way. Now, again, like I said, you don't have to rotate his head around. I just don't like his head hanging out there. So I rotate it around and put it right back down like that. Separate his shoulders right there, and then this little piece here at the top section is going to fold in, and then this hinges over, and then you connect these 2 points across the middle. There we go. Bring that in, kind of swoop, and then squeeze all that together like so, and then that's just gonna hang out right there. Come around here. I guess you could have did this at any point in time. Tuck his fists around. I also do like how they painted that. That's a nice additional touch. I didn't even notice that really at first. But he's got a molded black hand that you can see, if it was black and you rotate it around, it would break up that look of that light blue. But when you do that, they actually painted the underside of that. That's a real nice attention to detail. So rotate that around and then bring this down. And then these on the inside here, oh, keep that there. You got a little slot on the inside of his forearm that's going to lock in to the side right there. So again, rotate that around, bring that up. Fiddle with that, get that all the way down, and where are you at? There we go. Squeeze that in just like so. Take the toes, point those down, and then literally this is just a matter of lifting this up, rotating it. I like keeping it rotated right there, and then you bend that. Keep that section kind of folded forward. So again, lift that up, rotate him at the thigh, not the actual waist. Bend right there. And there you go. There you have them. Let's see. Put the gun right back here. There is the new Studio Series Perceptor. Great addition to the line. I think that Perceptor is a very kind of iconic character. I mean, in terms of the season 3 and onward, he was definitely a mainstay. Like I said, he replaced Ratchet, so they needed a guy like this. And while, yeah, I did have a little bit of resentment towards him because he replaced my favorite character, he did become a favorite of mine. So absolutely, I would recommend picking this guy up. One final thing. Forgot this. Take this, bring that down, just like so. But 100% I would recommend picking this guy up. Only improvements that I think that they could have really have done would be, like I said, make this a little bit thinner of a white line, and then this doesn't move. I mean, that doesn't really bother me that much, to be totally honest with you, but I mean, that's something that they could have added, but it literally does not upset me that they don't, so I don't even really care. But 100% would recommend picking this guy up. So all that being said, if he is a figure that you would like to add to your collection, he will be hitting various retail locations fairly soon. Or as always, you can go online to places like Big Bad Toy Store or Amazon, where you can check out availability on him, as well as the rest of the wide range of Transformer figures. But there you are, my friends. There's your look at the new Transformers Studio Series 86 Deluxe Class Perceptor. I want to thank you all for tuning in, and please remember that the real trouble with the world is that too many people grow up. Thank you all for watching and taking the time to be a kid.